now come to episode 2 of season 7, A Distant Echo. Now, like the previous episode, I mostly knew what was coming, but I wanted to see it in finished animation to see how much better it was, and somehow it amazed me even more than the first one. Maybe it's because the last episode was just the first episode in the series and setting up the story, so there wasn't an awful lot happening, but in this episode it was where things really started to kick off. So what happens? After returning from the mission in the last episode, Anakin, Rex and the Bad Batch are awaiting the Council's permission to go on a mission to Scako Minor, to see if they can find Echo in the Techno Union Command Center. When they arrive on Scako Minor, they run into the local inhabitants who take Anakin prisoner, but after some translation is done, they decide to help and tell Anakin and the clones where the Techno Union base is. And after infiltrating the base, they find out that Echo is indeed alive and is hooked up to a Techno Union computer system. So again, overall I really enjoyed this episode. It was fun to see an action-packed and it's really good story. The only one complaint I have with this episode, which I really want to get out of the way first of all, is the scene where Anakin is talking to Padme, who is obviously by this point pregnant. Now, we know that this episode takes place before Revenge of the Sith, and consequently Anakin does not know that Padme is pregnant. However, in this scene, how did Anakin not realise or have at least some suspicions that Padme is pregnant? I'm aware that they have to be careful to not alter the eventual Revenge of the Sith, but I'd rather they just leave this scene out personally, and leave it to a scene where the episodes cross over with Revenge of the Sith, and do it then. Other than that, I have nothing but good things to say about this episode. The way the Bad Batch use really unorthodox methods of completing missions or doing certain things is really cool to see. For example, in this episode where Anakin gets kidnapped, I thought what Rex must have thought, oh crap, how are we going to get him back now? But no, the Bad Batch troopers come up and track his heat signal across the skies, use that data to fire a cord onto a creature that is holding Anakin, and uses it to get to him. I thought that was really cool, because it was doing things that you wouldn't think of doing yourself, and it surprises you, because then you think, oh hang on, that was really well, why didn't we think of doing that? Something else I found really funny was the fact that Wrecker was actually scared of heights. Not that it's funny that someone is scared of heights, but when you see Wrecker in the first episode, he's a tough, strong character that acts like nothing and no one can stop him. But this one little weakness is the thing that, will stop him from doing something, and that is being up high, and I thought that was absolutely hilarious. Another thing that I liked about this episode is that it showed more of Rex's emotional side and what he was thinking. It's really neat to see him go through the process of being really happy but that his long lost comrade and brother was thought dead might well be alive, but is yet really deflated when Anakin tells him that the reality that Echo might well be dead and he has set himself up for failure. On the point of Rex and his emotions, I love how they convey his excitement of Echo being alive and then the anger when the Bad Batch troopers make comments that he's probably dead, and how they convey that with just the armour. It's a lot of emotion to convey in just a static expression on the helmet, but by God, Rex's stance and body language and how it changes when different things are being said. You can tell what he's thinking, and you can even see the expression on his face just from the voice and the body language. The last thing I want to make a point about is what they did with Echo. Now, I knew that Echo was going to start this cyborg with no hand and no bottom half of his body, because again, I've seen the story reels, so I was sort of slightly prepared for what he was going to look like, but I was not prepared for the fully rendered version with all the effects. When we saw Echo for the first time, I just immediately thought, oh my god, that looks so cool. Not just the way they textured him to look like he had just come out of cryosleep, but the effects around his eyes and the technology that was plugged into him. It's really cool. It was really awesome to see. In all fairness though, it's actually kind of creepy but interesting to think that the clone that you see in the episode of Clone Cadets and the ARC Trooper in the Citadel arc has become this cyborg supercomputer for the CIS. Overall though, I love this episode. It was definitely better than the last episode regardless of how much I praised it, and I can still continue to praise it. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how they are going to finish the arc and whether Echo will make it back alive.